Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us on our second RE Tech Talk. I'm Lakshmi Bohra, your host, and I welcome you all to our today's session where we will take a deep dive into solar PVs. This webinar is being organized as part of the collaboration between BEEP RE, a project on the integration of renewable energy in buildings implemented by IIEC and supported by Swiss Agency for Development and Cooperation, SDC, and partnered with USolar Clean Energy Solution for these tech talks. In this series, we will be exploring a variety of topics related to implementation of renewable energy projects in building with our expert speakers. Please save the dates for our future RE Tech Talks. And we will also be sending out reminders and updates to all registered attendees. To recap, the last RE Tech Talk, which was on 17th of February, introduced us to the RE technologies suitable for buildings in Indian context and briefly touched upon the RE deployment process. Our aim is to provide you with valuable insights and information on RE technologies and their implementation from our highly experienced speakers who are passionate about sharing their knowledge with you. Before I invite our speakers, I would like to run you through the GoToWebinar interface we are using for these webinars. For the entire duration of the webinar, your microphones will be on mute and the webcams will be turned off by default to avoid any accidental background disturbance. During the webinar, if you have any question or comment, please share the same using the questions or chat options available in the panel at the right side of your screen. We will take the questions at the end of the webinar during the question and answer session. You can also access the additional informative material in the handout section. Please note that this webinar is being recorded and the recordings will be made available in the public domain. Thank you for your patience. Without further ado, I would now like to invite our first speaker, Ms. Sonia Shukla, Senior Project Manager, International Institute for Energy Conservation, IIEC, for sharing the opening remarks and setting the context for today's talk. Ms. Sonia has over 12 years of experience and has worked in renewable energy, energy efficiency, electric vehicles, clean air, and sustainable development and sustainable financing. Sonia, the mic is yours.
Thank you, Lakshmi. Just let me know if I'm audible and also if you can see me, if my camera is on.
We can hear you all right, but you are not visible.
Okay, I think there's some issue with the webcam setting. I'm so sorry. Okay, so okay, let me just begin. So good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. And we are very pleased to invite you for this session today. We are having our second session today, and we will be diving deep into the basics and principles and nuances of solar PV technology, which will be provided by our partner, USolar Clean Energy Solutions. Just to begin with, I would just like to give a small introduction to International Institute for Energy Conservation. IIEC is a non-governmental, not-for-profit entity established to foster implementation of renewable energy and energy efficiency in developing countries and economies in transition. In India, we are registered as a Section 25 company, and we work on various sectors, but with the common agenda of sustainable development and resource conservation. We have worked with governments, private sector organizations, donors, multilaterals, and similar other organizations. For today's discussion, let me just highlight the work that we are doing with the Swiss Agency for Development and Cooperation. And this project is being funded by SDC. The project is known as BEEP RE, and it aims to develop solutions for holistic integration of renewable energy technology in building sector. The program is now almost 4 years old, and we have so far been able to achieve substantial outcomes. So the handouts and information articles that you see in the panel are produced under this project. And beside this, we have also established and fostered collaborations and engagements with the various public sector and private sector organizations to demonstrate the technology interventions for renewable energy technology in buildings and also to share and do capacity building activities so that a ecosystem towards renewable energy integration is created in the country. We have developed tools and manuals for assessment of various RE technology potentials, and these would be available at our BPARI webpage, as well as they are available in the handout section today. We are also developing self-learning modules and around the renewable energy technologies, and we have fostered collaborations with the Architectural Institute, basically to provide the capacity building and knowledge generated under the projects to the wider audience. So this is the overall aim for the project, and under the project, since a major component is the knowledge creation, awareness generation, and we are very glad to have associated with U Solar Clean Energy Solutions, who are a market leader in various RE technologies and specialize in solar technology especially. And they're going to delve deeper into this solar segment and provide you basics about the technology and its application. And I invite all of you to have a more interactive sessions, raise questions as much as you can, and also to remind you that we will be having this series of discussions in future as well. And as shared by Lakshmi, we have the entire schedule with us, and we will be moving on to different RE technologies in our next lecture series. With that, I give it back to Lakshmi to invite our speaker from U Solar. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sonia, for introducing the project and also setting the today's context. Now, I would like to invite our speaker of the day, Ninad NV, Technical Consultant at U Solar, to present solar PV for building integration and RE deployment. Ninad has over 6 years of experience in this solar industry, and his expertise lies in design, engineering, client interface, and a complete technical evaluation for achieving sustainable goals. Ninad, we will be sharing the controls of the presentation with you in just a few seconds. Yes, Ninad, we have shared the controls. You can start your presentation.
I'm audible, right?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay, so let's start with the agenda for the day. My first topic will be covered based on the solar PV for building integration. This is abbreviated as BIPV. So let me just give a brief introduction of what U Solar is and what we actually do to lay the layouts for this. So U Solar, we are basically a solar developer. We are an engineering, procurement, and a construction team. And we have a headquarters in Bangalore. We have more than 12 years experience in this space. We have a cumulative capacity of 170 megawatts installed across pan India. So these are the basic solutions that we provide across the various sectors of various financial modeling that's involved in a solar. So let's start with the few basic type of solar financial modelings that are available. The first one will be the capex mode. This is a capital intensive mode where the upfront cash is provided by the client. So we do operate under a boot model, which is also called as an OPEX model. OPEX model is something that's a very brief defined model in this. What we do is we upfront the solar developmental cost, we build the solar plant, and we do the complete asset management of the plant. In turn, the client will get in a PPA agreement with us, and we sell the power to the project developer or the client. And next is a group captive mode, which is basically a collaboration of the first two models, where the part ownership of the solar developmental cost will be borne by the client, and it will be a partnership kind of a model. So that is the basic solar developmental stage. The second stage will be the engineering, procurement, and the construction phase of a solar PV design. So what happens in an engineering stage? during the engineering stage, when you're initially going to, we have a basic idea of integration of solar into your commercial, industrial, or your residential sector. Initially, we need to do the basic. We have to identify the technology which we need to finalize, which is high cost effective for you, and the which whose benefits outweighs its deficits. So during this engineering phase, we explore the various technology options in the market which is suitable and which will have the highest ROI. And next stage, once this engineering has been phased, we move ahead with the procurement of the same. We procure the materials, we plan for the project schedule, we procure these materials in time for the construction aspect, where our project management team will begin the construction. The last stage of this will be the commissioning of a solar plant, where the power which is generated from the solar will be fed into the existing LT panels of your of the feeder, where the load requirement is available and the loads are used accordingly. Though once the complete commissioning of a solar power plant is done, the next stage will be the asset management services. We do have a in-house O&M team where the entire asset management will be taken care of. So there are briefly explain you the various type of solar model solutions which are available right now. These are the very basic sectors. The first one is your rooftop sector, where the rooftop space availability is it may be either RCC, conventional RCC type set, or a seed roof. We provide solar can be integrated to both the type of the RCC. The next one is where is the ground mount area, where huge utility scale projects usually happen in a ground mount area. So this is the third one is a building integrated solution. This is our topic for the day, and what exactly a building integrated power solution is: integrating the PV system as a conventional into the architecture of the building itself. That's if you're integrating the solution into your building architecture, it can be classified as a BIPV solution. It can be either replacing your conventional facade glasses with the solar models, or your conventional sheet roofs with solar tiles, or even a flooring also. For example, a flooring of a balcony or a terrace can also be replaced with the solar tiles, which are very new technology, which are available in this market right now. So with this, the next type of technology is called as a battery-based storage solution. A battery-based storage solution is something where you're integrating this power generated with the solar with a battery backup. Basically what happens is the solar generating potential usually it's available only during the day. That is, your peak generation occurs to 3 to 4 hours a day, and the entire generation of plant will be around 8 hours per day. Yeah. So the capture this peak generation and utilize it in a non-generating hours. Example, during the night time, we need to store this power somewhere. So where the storage system aspect of the system it comes into. The most commonly used storage systems are lithium-ion batteries. We have even latest technology of hydrogen storage, and all these things have been in. So the next type of integration that can be done is called as a solar carports, where the entire parking areas are developed into, instead of a conventional parking sets, we can develop a dual mechanism where it can provide shades to the parking lot as well as generate power also. Okay, let's start with BIPV system. So as I initially told you, a BIPV system is one where you replace this conventional building materials in the architecture element of the building itself. There are a few examples. You can see the images attached here. You can either replace your glass windows with the transparent models which are available, or replace the facade structures with the facade structure with PV modules, or even the skylights or shingles can also be replaced with PV's photovoltaic materials, which will generate the energy during the daytime. And incorporating this technology, this is classified as a BIPV system. These are the few basic basic modeling where the BIPV has found is most of its use. The first one will be the replacing the glass windows. Example, there are two types of implications here. One is a glass window can be replaced by an opaque conventional type solar panels, where this will be utilized mostly in areas where the cooling effect is needed, where you're spending a lot of energy requirement on your cooling requirements, and replacing your conventional windows with an opaque or semi-translucent type solar modules will give an added advantage of having a cooling effect on your building, and as well as generating PV power also. And one of the highest utilizes and scalable type of BIPV installation is replacement of facade structures. Most of the high-rise buildings that are any of the greenfield project makes use of the facade glasses are integrated into the building. So replacing these facade glasses with the frameless solar modules will will offset your initial upfront cost and will have an added advantage of even generating the solar modules for the same amount of installation cost which would have bad even for a facade installation. So the next one will be your shading requirements. Shading requirement occurs like if you need shadings on top of the window seats, or skylights can be replaced with solar models, but scaling of these types of requirements is bit less. So the last option is shingles and tiles. I think Tesla has come up with this concept where the conventional roof sets, or conventional roof tiles can be replaced with a solar tiles, which have an added advantage of again generation of power. The single image will represent you what are the type of BIPV integration that can be done. The first one you can see is a solar skylights, where a conventional type seat roof is replaced by a solar panels, which has a potential to generate electrical energy. So the next one will be your the shading aspect of it. You can use it for in the parapet walls of your balcony or parapet wall of your terraces. You can integrate this space utilization and generate some electricity. The next one will be your window glass. With when it comes to installation of PV models in your windows, or transparent, where some amount of light needs to be passed through the models, we have different type of models which are available in the market. The conventional type models usually are opaque in nature and doesn't allow any light to pass through it. So, but the latest technology, we are integrating models which are translucent as well as transparent in nature. But with opting for a technology which are transparent, that means that the solar cells are far apart from each other, and there are transparent glass materials which are available, which transmit this light through. This will in turn lead to some amount of generation loss. It will not capture as much of the solar irradiation as a conventional type model will. So there are a few examples where the examples are provided where a solar PV model can be integrated to the building architecture. So let's consider how do you plan for the key model selections. We have to select what type of model. There are number of options that are available right now in the market. So how do you plan for this? How do you select the model that will fulfill your requirement? There are a few basic parameters we consider while designing for design selection for a model. The first one is the shape of a model. The conventional shape of a solar PV model is a rectangular shape, which is highly available in the market. But we do get customized shapes as per your requirement, which can be integrated into a building. So one of the major aspect of a BIPV system is the BIPV system is highly cost effective only if it is integrated into a greenfield building architecture of a building itself. So when you're considering it as a retrofitting option, it can be done, but the cost and return of investment involved with the project there are a few challenges based on that. So the next aspect of a model selection will be the size of the panels. So next one is the visibility. Visibility, as explained, there are three types of models available. There is your opaque, transparent, and translucent. So based on the amount of sunlight that's needed, the amount of cooling that's required, you can choose your visibility of a panel and the thermal effect that the building should have on it. So the like if your example, if you need a cooling effect on your building, you should offer an opaque, more of an opaque PV models, so that in turn it absorbs most of the sunlight which are incident on it, and in turn the building have a cooling effect on the building. So as explained, these are the two types of the PV models which are integrated, two applications of two separate PV models. The first one, you can see it's a high luminosity, direct sunlights are available on it, where example for a window application, we'll make use of such type of PV models, whereas you need, your requirement is only low luminosity and you need only diffuse sunlights, where in turn a cooling effect will be produced on the building. We make use of an opaque type of solar models. Hi Lakshmi, could you just check? I'm not able to move my slide.
Actually, Ninad, you had a network issue. I am
Okay.
at the slide of India's largest BIPV project.
Okay.
I think you could go back a few slides.
Just give me. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
this was the one.
Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, let's start. So let's start as an example. So in Mumbai, we have for one of our clients in Controls data center, we had installed a BIPV plant of 863 kilowatt peak. The building, as the image indicate itself, it's a replacement of a facade structure. In this, what basically so okay. So image basically designates a BIPV system where the entire facade of the building we have considered the north and the south, which are the we have considered the orientation which generates the highest amount of solar energy, and we have replaced the facade structures with PV models for those orientations, and integrating the PV model into the architecture and building up the structure the structure simulation and the cable and all the cable trays, all those requirements into the building architecture itself. While the greenfield stage of the project, we were able to achieve this BIPV, integrated BIPV, which is currently the largest integrated BIPV solution in India. So for roofing materials, we have a few examples here, uh, where the conventional sheet roofs or the conventional Mangalore tiles, which we usually use for most of our homes, can be replaced with the solar tiles, which are readily available for in US and Europe markets, but we are yet to integrate most of it in Indian market on a large scale basis. So these are the few examples. How can you integrate it for a shading and skylight requirement, where you have an outdoor sitting area or where you need some shadings to have shading requirements are there. We can definitely use it. Okay. The second point of consideration during a BIPV installation is we need to finalize the cable route. Let me just take it back. Each and every model will have two outputs, just like in a battery system where you have a positive and a negative output. The same thing is here. Each model will be in terms of a DC power, which will have two leads, a positive one and a negative one. So what with the basic basic integration of the system is, each model will be connected in series, where the voltage of a model get added up. Example, if you are considering 20 models in series, so each individual panel voltage will range from 40 to 45. So taking that as an example, with 20 models in series, your voltage will be up to 800 to 850 voltage. So each each of these things needs to be connected to an is something called as PV model inverters. The main purpose of an inverter is to convert the DC energy which is generated from solar direct sunlight from the PV models into the usable energy AC source. So to provide this, we need to connect individual models, and it has to be all the cables from individual models has to be routed to the inverter. So this work seems routine when it is done for a rooftop and a ground mounted solar integration, but when it comes to VIPV integration, the all the cable routes and the conduits and the cable trays that needs to be laid for this has to be implemented in the building architecture itself. This will make your project feasible, and that's how we move ahead with the design also. So most of the BIPV projects, when it comes to greenfield projects, we need to integrate the architecture accordingly for our requirements, where all the cable routes are finalized, the electrical panel rooms are planned, the point of load injections are planned, and during the design stage of the building itself. So I have highlighted few of the key model suppliers in India as of now. We have Onyx, Credence, Wari, Ryzen and Longi are some of the few, to name some of the few prominent BIPV model manufacturers. They operate both in Ryzen and Longi operate in from China, and Onyx are European players. So there are key model technologies that are available. The one of it is amorphous silicon photovoltaic glass. It's a transparent type of a PV generating glass, where most of the application, it finds application in where the example of windows of a building and where you need most of the sunlight to pass through. And we do have a conventional crystalline silicon photovoltaic glass. This is your conventional PV models. It adopts the same technology and it is integrated into your BIPV systems. The third one is your roof tile, where the heat roofs. It's a fixable type roof tiles are provided, where it will be connected. Individual tiles are connected in series, and it will be integrated into your power generating system. So we'll just brief you through the one of our case studies as explained earlier. This is the image which depicts the building for controls data center. It is an 863 kilowatt BIPV installation. So the brief history of this is the total there are two separate orientations in this building. The south capacity, it is 551 kilowatt peak, and in the north orientation it is 312 kilowatt peak. So the total number of models are 2466 numbers of BIPV models were integrated. It was of Wari make, and it was a monocrystalline panels with 350 watt peak. 350 watt peak is each individual capacity of a model. So there were 9 numbers of solar edge inverters which were used here. So what happens with the BIPV system is we make use of a technology called as model level integration. In this, solar edge has an technology where they provide solar optimizers. A solar optimizer is it integrates itself to individual panels, and basically in a conventional solar system we make use of string inverters. Solar edge has a type of technology where this monitoring can be done from model level. This is very important when it comes to a BIPV installation. let me just give you an example how this technology helps a BIPV installation. Usually what happens in a conventional type rooftop system, all the panels connected into a string inverter. Example is a 100 kilowatt system. All the 100 kilowatt panels will be in single orientation, which are connected to a single inverter. So most of the panels, which are, even though there will be some mismatch losses in the panel, the mismatch losses are very minimal at this case, and even so, the losses can be mitigated in terms of normal C group or RCC installation. But when it comes to BIPV models, because the models are oriented in different directions. Example, a model 1 will have different amount of irradiation which is incident on it from the model 2. So usually what happens is when the irradiation levels differ from one model to another, the generation capacity of this model will differ. So, but what happens, because we are the system is designed in such a way that we are connecting different models into the same string. Basically, a string will work as the lowest amount of current in that string will be sensed by the inverter, and will have huge amount of losses if you are not considering this. So to avoid this losses, that is this can occur naturally due to model degradation also, and due to partial shading also. To avoid this, we make use of technology called as, we can either go with micro inverters, or we can offer solar optimizers. That's the brief about the technology which we are opting for a BIPV system. So just a cost estimation for this, it was usually observed that there will be a 20% increase in the investment cost. This is considering the offsetting of your facade structure, because the installation cost and the labor cost will remain the same, because all we are doing is replacing the facade with the solar PV modules. But of course, you need to bear some of the installation cost for your AC side inverters and the electrical work that is required. So observing, the plant has been in operation for almost 3 years now, and the average generation has been 50,000 units on a monthly average. So just to give a brief of how the project was integrated. So the project was it was done with a collaboration with the facade fabricators. We had customized the aluminum frames which were mounted on the building, which acted as a support structure for our solar panels. So the models were mounted and interconnected in trays on the frame and led to the electric room on the roof. So the entire cable tray infrastructure was developed, where we were able to run our DC cables from individual models, and as explained to you earlier, each models were connected with optimizers, and one of the other main function of an optimizer is it allows you an option to monitor each model individually. Example, in case of a string monitoring system, if you have a conventional type string inverters, you'll be able to monitor your individual string of those inverters. Example, if individual string has 25 models in series, if there is an error in one of these models, the entire 25 models which are connected in series will be affected, and you lose generation for that time period until and unless you rectify this issue. In a conventional system, access for this system won't be an issue. We can access the string and resolve the problems immediately. But that's not the case when you're using a BIPV system. So here we need to identify where exactly the issue is. It might be a short circuit issue. There might be connections problems. There are, during the lifetime of an installation, there are a few errors that's going to occur. So making use of this optimizer technology, we are able to pinpoint the exact faulty models, which can either be rectified or the models can be replaced. So when it comes to the future in urban energy, basically most of the commercial and industrial sector prefer to go with rooftop installation. That is because mainly because of the cost consideration. But having the space constraint with us, slowly for achieving their net zero and meeting their sustainability goals, the and new concept of net zero energy buildings, transition from rooftop power plants to the uh, building integrated system is highly recommended. And if this transition is done during the greenfield stage of the project, it will be highly beneficial for your ROI and and the solar potential with this is also very huge. But one of the major drawbacks when it comes to a BIPV system, to highlight this, will be because when you are integrating the system, we are integrating into the building architecture. Uh, we are unable to capture the maximum amount of irradiation which are available to us. Example, in a standard rooftop system, you can orient your models towards the south, uh, and with the ideal tilt angle, which gives you the maximum capability to capture the 100% of irradiation which is available to you for that location. But when it comes to a BIPV structure, because we are integrating these models into the building itself, and most of the time this integration has a tilt angle of 90 degrees, that is it's placed vertically, so we do lose some of the irradiation. We are unable to capture it. This loss is approximately around the range of 40 to 45% of the irradiation that is available. We are able to capture only 55% when compared to your uh, conventional rooftop systems. So that ends our first part of our agenda here with the BIPV system.
Ninad, you can continue.
Yes. Okay, we'll just
Yeah.
continue. Okay. So let's start with our second part here. So the main purpose of this one is this we are. So I'll just give you a brief on how, once you have identified if you have a requirement of solar, like you have enough load and you need to meet your sustainability goals, and whatever the case may be, you have decided to integrate solar into your system. So how do you go ahead, and what are the technologies? How do you select these technologies? How do you design the solar plants? How do you approximate what will be the return on capacity? How do you simulate these generations? That's the main topics which we'll be covering in this section. So let's begin with this. Brief introduction on this regarding the solar potential in India. Basically, our location in the globe ensures that we have a lot of potential when it comes to solar power generation, especially the southern states and the western part of India has a lot of solar potential. Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, and Maharashtra and Gujarat are leading in this adoption of solar, and huge utility scale solar power plants have been built up and you are utilizing. And even our current government have a huge plans to meet our sustainability goals. So the future looks good, basically. So let's see with what are the few technologies that are available when you are opting for a solar power plant. So where the conventional type, which is the one of the most common type of installation, are the rooftop solar and the ground mount solar. Uh, with rooftop solar, there are huge space constraint regarding this, when most of the factories which are or industrial or commercial spaces where they have very limited roof spaces. In terms of industries, most of the industries, if they are opted for a seed roof, the the scalability will be pretty good. But when it comes to an RCC structure, or in urban areas, the rooftop space is we have a lot of restriction when it comes to rooftop space. So most of the solar installation and utility scale constructions happens in ground mount solar. Basically, with the ground mount solar, what we are doing is, because most of the industries are near the urban areas, they are unable to make. They don't have area available to them, or even if they have available area, there are huge land cost that needs to be bared for them. So to avoid this, we have something called as open access policy in India. This is basically an offsetting mechanism. Even government doesn't ideally prefer to use urban spaces for solar installation. So basically, under the scheme, we basically install the solar power plant near a substation where there is a very good generation available, and we feed this energy generated into the closest substation, and whatever the energy which is integrated into the nearest substation will be offsetted from your electricity bill. This is called as an open access and green open access policies. Many of the states in India are adopting this, and it has huge potential when it comes to the future. The third topic is the building integrated BIPV. We have gone through this, and there is solar storage, carport, and one of the upcoming sector with this is the floating systems. When it comes to because of the space constraint as explained earlier, floating solar is picking up the speed as of now. Many of the floating solar applications majorly lies in backwater lakes, close to dams, and in the canal system, where the flow of water is minimized, and we can utilize the space for generating the PV energy. So I think we've gone through let's start with the developmental process of a solar power plant. So once we have a clear idea that our solar power plant has to be installed, what are the steps involved in developing the solar power plant? The first initial step will be, we have to do an initial assessment. Basically, the initial assessment will involve designing of a preliminary design where we assess the roof space which is available, and we collect the electricity bills. The electricity bill basically gives an idea of load consumption for a particular industry or a residential space, wherever the application may be. So what you need to look out for in an electricity bill, we have a section called as a sanction load. Sanction load is something which we are applying from the distributed company. It might be a Bescom, for example, in Bangalore, or whatever the local distribution company is. If you are available to read the sanction load, basically what the sanction load integrate is, that's your maximum load requirement which we are committed to the distribution company. So this gives a very brief idea of your load requirement for your industries. So we know one thing, that the sanction load will determine the load which is available in your industry, and the roof space will be the other factor which will determine the capacity of solar which can be applicable. And there are a few state policies which define this too. Example, we have net metering policies in most of the states in India, but yeah, it is not adopted by every state in India though. And the net metering policy differ from individual states to states. So individual states will have its own solar policies. Under this net metering policy, basically what happens is, you are generating the solar power during the day, and you can be, if there is any excess power, example, we have a 100 kilowatt solar system installed, and load requirement for that particular time is only 50 kilowatt, and your solar is generating 100 kilowatt load. So basically this additional 50 kilowatt which has been generated has to be reverse fed into the grid. So if you don't have a net metering permission, we will not be able to reverse feed this into the grid and utilize this during an off peak time. So it's a very beneficial scheme, which is it's called as net metering policy. So we'll get back to the initial site survey. So once this initial preliminary designs have been calculated and we have a initial estimation of the size of a power plant, we go ahead with the site survey. So what are the basic details which we look during a site survey? The main aspect will be we basically for solar installation we need an area which is shadow free. We look out for shadow clearance from morning 9 to evening 4. This is a basic requirement for any solar system. Because shadow, there are two types of losses which are integrated due to shadow. The one is because of the shadow, the models which are covered in shadow will stop generating, and we'll have losses associated with that. And one more thing, which is one of the other major factors with shadow effect on a solar PV model is that there is a very high chances that if you have repeated, we have a shadow developing. If you have installed some few of the models in shadow regions and it is being affected, then the model will start degrading also, and you'll not only lose the generation for that particular time where the shadow has been casted on your models, but also will have a long-term effect on your models also. So once the shadow-free areas have been assessed, the next stage of a solar plant design is you're basically generating this either generating the solar on your rooftops or on a building integrated wherever you choose to adopt solar with. The this power has been generated from the solar rooftop has to be transmitted to the electrical panel rooms where the load requirement and the distribution boards are. So basically we need to size the amount of cable that is required, the routing of cable, and when it comes to the safety aspect of the plant, because it's an electrical installations, we have to be doubly sure. And when it comes to, and we are working on a rooftop system, so we'll have many safety installation that needs to be done. We have to install walkways for proper walkways on seat roof where people and O&M teams can mobilize on the rooftops without damaging your seat roofs, and we'll have safety lines where we can hook into the safety line. So all these design aspects and earthing system and designated earthing system for DC, AC and lighting arrestor position all needs to be placed during the site survey. So we basically calculate the locations for this, we finalize the SLDs, finalize the cable sizing based on the based on the current carrying capacity of the cable as well as the distances of the cable. So once these things are faced, we go ahead with preparing a detailed proposal. The proposal will basically contain a initial layout of a plant. It will clearly define what will be your generation potential of this plant, and what will be the savings which saving benefits which are gonna saving benefits on adoption of solar, and the project execution, and detailing all the project execution phase. So the final stage will be the actual project implementation and the commissioning of the power plant. So now let's begin with solar assessment process. So we have been through this. The first one is understanding what is the load requirement, how much of solar integration that we are looking for. This is basically depends on the load which is available in your industry or a commercial space. The next we'll go through the state solar policies, if there are any subsidies which are available, if we can opt for net metering or whatever the statutory approvals that needs to be taken in place. And next we'll define the space availability for the solar. These are the briefly the few considerations which are considered. We have highlighted few of the basic factors which will be which are considered during a solar rooftop installation. So uh, basically let's briefly explain what are the available technology and where these technologies can be adopted based on your requirements. Okay. So based on the type of the roof which is available, we'll define the structures that needs to be placed. Example, sheet roof has its own aluminum structures. If you have an RCC roof, we'll be utilizing a hot dip galvanized MS structures. We need to design the structures using load bearing capacities of the roof. We need to assess if the if the load the additional load which is which is going to be installed on the structures, they have enough load bearing capacity to withstand this loads. So the next aspect will be the shadow analysis of the plan. We use mostly SketchUp and other designing tools to assess the shadow free region. The next one will be the to freeze the basically how do you freeze the optimum tilt angle and orientation for a panel. So basically, in the northern hemisphere, like we are in India, we belong to the northern hemisphere. So basically, for entire northern hemisphere, we have to orient these models towards the southern face. So wherever you see solar installation in northern hemisphere, it will be tilted towards the south. It will be facing towards the south. That is your optimum orientation for any solar power plant. So, and how do you go ahead with freezing the tilt angle? If you have observed any solar system, it will not be placed in the 90 degrees or a zero tilt angle. It will have some amount of tilt angle. How do you determine this tilt angle? So basically, a tilt angle can be finalized. General term rule for your tilt angle is to identify the latitude of a place of installation. If example, if you are in Bangalore and you're looking for a solar power plant, the latitude of Bangalore is 12.42 degrees. So basically, you need to the tilt angle for your solar panel installation will be 12 degrees. So as you're moving towards the north, your tilt angle will increase, and that's how you determine the optimum tilt angle for your solar system. So then how do you decide? There are three basic type of technologies that are available in a solar PV system. The first one is an on-grid technology. How do you define something? On-grid technology is where you don't have any storage system which are involved. Basically, there are no battery systems or any other form of storage systems here. In an on-grid system, your solar power plant is connected directly into the load distribution center of a building, which is in turn connected into the grid. So the solar system, there is one of the key factor of a working of an on-grid solar system is you need to have an available grid source. Grid source can be your BESCOM or your DG panels also. So basically, the solar system will not generate without this reference voltage either from your grid or from the DG sets. There has to be a reference voltage which has to be provided, and with this reference voltage, the solar will be generated. That type of system is called as an on-grid system. Then we have systems with battery storages available, which is called as off-grid systems, and off-grid system where you have sufficient space where storage options are available, and you can size this battery based on your nighttime load requirement or your emergency load and the amount of backup you need. So there is the third type of system which is newly available in the market is called as hybrid systems. Hybrid system is basically a combination of on-grid and off-grid systems. When it comes to an off-grid system, it is completely isolated from the grid, but with the hybrid system, it will integrate the grid also. And example, if it's a monsoon season and there are it's a monsoon season and the solar irradiation is not available to charge your batteries, the system will sense this, and as soon as the battery reaches the critical levels, it will use the grid to charge the batteries, and you have your the entire system will act as basically an UPS where the storage is available in spite of the solar irradiation not being available. So if it's a sheet roof, these are the few main criteria that we are considering while designing the solar system for a sheet roof. The type of sheet roof which is available, the most common type of sheet roof is galvaninium sheets. There are a few types of profile which are available with the galvaninium sheets, which are trapezoidal profile or a cap zip profile. We have all type of mounting structures for all the available profile of galvanized sheets. But when it comes to asbestos sheets, or which we commonly call as cement sheets, we don't prefer to utilize implement solar on cement sheets. The main aspect of it is if it's just a residential purpose, it should be fine. But when you are scaling it up and utilizing it for a commercial scale, the main hindrance with utilizing it for a cement sheet is it is very brittle and no O&M activities can happen on this. So that's one of the reasons where the asbestos sheets are not recommended for solar PV installation. So next one is the load bearing capacity of the structure where we are installing the solar. So usually the load that is calculated, or the per square meter load usually comes around 15 kg per square meter for the entire solar system. That is because each panel ideally weighs in the range of 25 to 27 kgs. There is one panel. So the next aspect is the safety consideration. We need to install the safety lines, fall protection railings, and even access to the top of the roof for regular maintenance and installation has to be provided also. And when it comes to orientation, as explained, the ideal orientation will be south-facing orientation, but we do find that if it's an RCC structure, we can definitely orient these models. But when it comes to the sheet roof, because the sheet roofs, in a sheet roof installation of solar PV models, the models are oriented in the same direction as the sheets. We don't have an option to ideally place it towards the south. So we have to go with the building orientation. There are few losses associated with this. So briefly, even east and west orientation also will be fine. These are the few considerations when it comes to an RCC roof installation. It comes to RCC roofs. Basically, we have. Let me just pull out some images for you. Okay, these are the few examples for RCC roof structures, and on the left you can see the sheet roof profile. In the sheet roof profile, we are implementing the aluminum galvanized. It's an aluminum structure which is directly installed on top of the sheet roof. Due to this, the orientation of your models will be as per the sheet profile. But when it comes to RCC structure, these are the two types of RCC structure example we have. This middle one is called as a Bella structure, and we have a double portrait structure. We have the freedom to tilt it towards your ideal installations. That is your source. Okay, now let's go ahead with the topic of how do you select the technology. So basically, when it comes to, we'll start with the model technologies. There are three main sectors when it comes to model technologies. First one is the polycrystalline, next one is monocrystalline, and the latest one right now is the bifacial models. Briefly, polycrystalline is most of the polycrystalline utilization is where space is not a constraint. Basically, polycrystalline per model watt peak will range from 300 to 350 per watt peak. So where the space is not a constraint, we'll ideally prefer to go with a polycrystalline models. This is because it's the most cost-effective models which is available right now. The second type of technology is the monocrystalline models. Monocrystalline models, we in the market as of now we have up to 650 per watt peak, but which is commonly used is 550 watt peak models which are commonly available in the market, and the newest one is the bifacial model. When it comes to the first two type of models, we have the top surface of the model which captures the irradiation, but the bottom of the models are opaque in nature, and this cannot function to capture the sun rays. But when it comes to a bifacial model, uh, bifacial model can capture irradiation on its top surface as well as on the bottom surface on the model also. Uh, these are uh, these are preferred where you have uh, we have installations where the reflection of light is available, where you have an example an RCC structure where the light get reflected from the rooftop back into the back face of a model installation, and you get approximately around 9 to 12% extra efficiency while using the bifacial models, but the cost effectiveness is still a factor for us to utilize it on a large scale. So this is a brief data sheet of a solar model. I'm considering a 540 watt peak monocrystalline model. This is a monoperf model, which is one of the commonly used models in India right now. So for when you're going ahead with the design of a system, what are the major factors which we need to take from this data sheet is we need to consider the length and width of the panel. We need to consider the voltage per individual panels and the current generating capacity of this models, because your entire electrical system design will be based on these factors which needs to be considered. And all these parameters are available to you from the particular manufacturer who will sell it to you as a data set. So this ends our section on the models. Let's start with the inverters. In inverters, there are briefly three segments of inverters. First one is a string inverter. Any conventional rooftop installation, we make use of a ideal string inverters. Basically, string inverters, it is one of the most commonly utilized inverters in this space. We have a lot of advantages. We currently operate an MPPT level, so string inverters. It ranges from 5 kilowatt on-grid system to around 240 kilowatt. We have 1500 volt systems also available for now, where it has a utility scale string inverters. The major advantage of utilizing string inverter is it just has a higher efficiency than your central inverters. But when it comes to the cost effectiveness, the central inverters will be cost beneficial, but when it comes to purely generation capacities, string inverters will yield more PV power. Then the third type of system is called as a micro inverters. Basically, a micro inverters finds its application in a BIPV system, as I was explaining, with an solar edge inverter. And the most famous type of micro inverters which is available right now is from Enphase. These are highly recommended for residential utilization, or where the scale of your solar power plant is between 5 kilowatt or 10 kilowatt systems. It's ideally, and we have and your roof space, there are partial shading available on the roof space, or your seat roof orientation. There are two or three separate orientations which are available. There we make use of micro inverters to mitigate the losses. So we have briefly gone through the type of structures which are already available. So all the previously three structures which were introduced to you, all the structures are called as fixed tilt structures. Here, these structures are basically fixed to one orientation and one azimuth. And we don't have an option to capture the irradiation. Example, solar irradiation, the sun moves from east to west on day-to-day basis, and from 90 degrees it gets tilted towards the south during the winter seasons. And this effect is more prominent when you're moving towards the northern hemisphere, towards the North Pole. So basically, to capture more of the irradiation that is already available in a particular location, we make use of three types of systems are available to us. First one is a single axis manual tracking system. Here what we do is uh, it's a basically a tracking system which is done manually. We have example, we have three options with three different tilt angles for three different seasons. Example, we have a separate tilt angle for a summer tilt, then we'll have a tilt for a winter tilt, then a fixed tilt for a normal tilt, which are autumn and spring seasons. We keep it. So three separate tilt angles are there, but this tilt angle has to be adjusted by manually on season to season basis. So the next option is to automate the system. That can be done using single axis automatic trackers and dual axis automatic trackers. So basically what our tracking system does is the tracking system will have a database where it's going to predict the movement of the sun based on the season and the location of the solar power plant. And taking this data as an input, it will track the daily movement of the sun from east to west as well as the seasonal movement. So single axis automatic tracker will have a capability of moving in single axis as the name suggests, and a dual axis tracker will have a higher capability to track the sun in both the axis, east to west and north to south. But obviously dual axis trackers are really costly, and it doesn't find much of commercial utilization in India. So the next, let's consider some of the balance systems and safety provisions that general solar system requires. The first one will be the side rails or walkways that is needed. This is very essential to install walkways on a seat roof. This is because any manual movement on the walkways or shifting of models or structures during installation cannot be done directly on the seat roof. This will damage the seat roof, and we'll find lots of leakages due to this. So we have designated walkways installed where the entire manual movement and load movement will be done to the walkways. So as these are electrical systems involved here, which are high current, high voltage systems, we need to have proper fire extinguishers, and of course, safety gears needs to be utilized into the installation. So to name a few of the balance of system items, we have the AC distribution and DC distribution boxes which are required. We do have cable conduits, DC cables, and one of the major aspect of a solar power plant is a solar monitoring system. So how do you have a solar system installed? We have approximated the generation for your area. So how do you monitor if a solar plant is working optimally or not? So for this verification, we make use of called as solar monitoring. We basically, solar monitoring consists of a data logger, and we integrate this data logger with pyranometers. Pyranometer will basically read the amount of irradiation that is available on the area. So our data logger is in turn connected to a inverter. So what does the data logger read is the amount of energy that is generated on day-to-day basis. It is get logged into a data logger, and the amount of irradiation that was available for that particular location can be integrated by making use of a pyranometer. So with the cloud-based systems, and we have some estimation tools, we'll be able to generate if your solar plant was generating ideally for the amount of irradiation which is available. If there is a deviation and your plant is generating considerably less than what is expected, then we can identify there is some sort of an issue and it has to be rectified. That's the main purpose of your monitoring system. So the next aspect of your solar power plant is an earthing. Individual earthing for individual models needs to be provided, because each model has a capacity to generate electrical power, and it's a high voltage system which is up to 800 to, we have new technology which goes up to 1500 volts can be available. DC voltages are available at the system. So it's highly essential to give proper earthing and proper chemical. Usually preferred method of earthing is chemical free earthing for a solar power. So how do you plan with the, this is a basic typical solar power plant drawing. We basically use AutoCAD for sizing this solar plant capacity. Both the type of sheet roofs have been mentioned here. So on the left, you can see a RCC roof. Here we have used a double portrait structure. You can see two models which are placed, and you can see there is a space between these two models available. This is because the panel on in front of this model will cast a shadow on the rear side of the model. That's the reason for the shadow clearance. We leave some amount of space that is called as a pitch when it comes for an RCC structure. But in case of a sheet roof, as dedicated in the right side of a drawing, the pitch doesn't need to be available because there is no tilt angle which is there. Therefore, there won't be any shadow issues from one model to the other. So once we have sized once we have designed an AutoCAD drawing, we have estimated the size of a power plant. We move ahead with something called as a shadow analysis. Preferably, we use Google SketchUp is the most commonly used tool for this. So what we do is we generate the building architecture into the SketchUp drawing. We build into all the obstacles which is available. We put the pitch we plan on doing, and we stimulate this shadow for throughout the year. We check it for from January to December, the entire year. The shadow will be observed, and whichever area is designated that the clearance is not available from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. We have to give clearances there, and the space becomes not feasible for solar installation. So this is the basic slides how shadow analysis of a solar system is done. So next, let's run through how we estimate the solar generation. So we basically have a capacity freeze now. We do know what's the load requirement of a solar system. We have generated what's the how much will be the shadow free area which is available. We have the DC capacity. How much solar models can be installed? We have already analyzed that. So how do we go ahead with? We have a particular location where we need to install solar, but we need to estimate how much of solar energy will be generated towards the lifespan of a solar system. For a solar system, the general lifespan is around 25 years. So basically, we have a tool called as PVSYST. It's a most commonly tool used for estimating solar generation. It's a simulation tool. So I'll run step by step how solar for an ideal 100 kilowatt system. How do you move ahead with the solar system? This is the initial page which we get, and basically name the project name. Once after this, so we have to define basically the location of your solar system. We have to input your coordinates, latitude, longitude, the altitude, and the time zone of that area. With this, we'll be able to import the weather data from that for that particular location. So the most preferable weather data which is assumed as Meteor and 8.0. We use this. It's most commonly used weather data. What does a Meteor and 8.0 software, the available data does is it takes it basically calibrates 15 to 20 years of previous irradiance. What is the level of irradiance that was observed on a month wise? See, this table clearly shows you what has been the irradiance for the month of January, February. Still, all the 12 months has been integrated. So this, and here as you can see, this is data from 1996 to 2015. So they have recorded this data for a time period of 20 years, and they have accumulated this data. This is basically based on the past irradiance that is available for that particular area. So once we have this location freeze and we know the weather data for the particular location, next we have to define the orientation of the building. So we have a tool where we define this. There are many options which are available in our PVSS. For this example, we are considering a fixed tilt plane. Fixed tilt plane will be where trackers are not involved, and we are giving a azimuth is basically azimuth is your orientation defined from the south angle. Basically, if your model is facing towards the south, it's 0 azimuth. As you move towards the south, what the degree is available, you define it as an azimuth. So next we are moving ahead with the defining the system. With the PVSS, we basically integrate. We give here we designate the capacity of the system. We mention the model manufacturer. From the model, we get a PAN file, and inverters there will be an OND file. These are basically data sets which are integrated into the PVSS software. By selecting this, the PVSS will automatically select all the data parameters for a particular model and this inverter, and you need to design the stringing for this particular system. It will automatically get recommended from the PVSS, or you can optimize it based on your designing also. So once this system design has been done, then we move ahead with defining the system losses. One of the major losses which are available for a PV system is the temperature losses. The temperature losses occurs due to the because PV models, the standard operating temperature for a PV model is 25 degrees Celsius. But when it comes to our practical simulation, 25 degrees Celsius is not observed. Most of the states it goes around 45 and even 50 degrees Celsius when it comes to summer season. So due to this, there is temperature losses which are available, which are generation losses due to this high temperatures, and basically this has to be defined, and there are various other options which are where we define this temperature losses. We do have to select the ohmic losses. Ohmic losses are basically due to the cable lengths and voltages. Then we have input losses from model, and we have something called as soiling losses. Soiling losses is where you define the example in your if there is a solar plant installed, the O&M solar plant will require frequent cleaning of solar modules. Example of our monthly once or twice solar panels needs to be cleaned. But this cleaning activity cannot be taken on a day-to-day basis for a practical simulation. So we define some amount of soiling losses that is available basically due to dust accumulation on your solar panel, which will in turn reduce the amount of irradiation that is available on the solar. So there is another section called as unavailability. Unavailability defines the grid outage for that particular area. If there is frequent outages in your locations, we need to define the higher associated losses based on unavailability. This is adopted only for an on-grid system. So the next section, the PVSS will give a option where you can define the fast fading losses. This is basically where, example, you have a building which is casting a shadow on your solar plant, but the shadow is observed to be only still 7 in the morning or 8 in the morning. So okay. There is a shadow available only still 7 a.m. or 8 a.m., whatever the case may be. This will be defined in this section. And the next section is near shading losses. Near shading losses are basically the obstructions which are very close to the PV system. It might be caused from one model shadow which is being constrained on the other model also. We can define this using this tool. So we'll briefly run through the simulation data which we have received. So once we have completed all the steps which are involved in a PSS, we get a report, and the report will briefly explain it to you. You can see on the right side, this is called as a loss diagram. The first section of the loss diagram will define you the amount of solar irradiation that is available for that particular location. Okay. So once this location, this is derived directly from the weather data. So from here, you will get another factor where based on your tilt angle and orientation of a system profile, you have defined this section will be defined because we have kept it ideally towards the south and we have a optimal south angle, we have a positive. So the next we are defining the losses which are integrated. Here we can see the soiling losses which has been defined, and you can see the amount of temperature losses which are integrated. So the PSS will basically consider all the system profile and the losses which are defined into the system and will give you a generation capacity. The final value we see here is the estimated generation for first year of your solar power plant. This is the value which you need to consider for generation to estimate the solar generation potential of your solar power plant. So basically, why we consider this as a first year generation value? This is because there is a natural degradation which is involved when it comes to a solar PV models. Most of the manufacturers for the first year operation of your PV models, there will be a 1 to 2% degradation which is observed in your PV models. For the consecutive years, it will be in the range of 0.6% on year-to-year basis for the 25 years lifespan of the PV models. So the first year data is available to you here, and taking a percentage degradation, you can estimate your power generation for the 25 years, which is the lifespan of a solar model. So let's end it with the return of investment calculation. So this is the brief calculation how you calculate the return on investment on your solar power plant. You basically define your capacity of a solar power plant. You have estimated your generation using a PVSS. Now we know what is your yearly generation, which you are expecting, and you already know what you are paying per unit rate for your, which is great. If you do not use solar and you're buying from the BESCOM, you have a per unit rate. By just offsetting these two and doing some brief calculations, you can get the net effective investment which is available. And for a conventional rooftop or a ground mount system, it is usually observed that in a range of 4 to 5 years, the return of investment is available for a integrated solar system. So this concludes our session on resource assessment and how you generally simulate the PV system.
Thank you, Ninad, for the detailed presentation. There are a couple of questions submitted by our attendees. I will read them out for you to answer.
Yes.
Just a sec. Okay, so the question number 1 is by Shaleen Mahajan. They have asked, hello, with regards to the installation in BIPV, will there not be too much heat generation across the building due to solar panel installation? How about cleaning and maintenance? And second question by Jotham Prabhu is, if it is integrating with the building, what will happen to the PV panels when their life expectancy is over? Further, if we are able to capture only 55% of irradiance and average PV efficiency is around 15 to 20%, then the ROI of the project will be very long. Third question is by Amitosh Pandey. Is there any catalog for selection of BIPV products as other vendors such as glass, paint, etc. suppliers provide? The fourth question is by Shweta Sharma. What are codes and standards which are followed to calculate the load, and that is light and plug loads, for a rooftop before at architectural stage? Another question is by Aliu Joshua. What about other software can be used for shadow analysis? And the last question is again by Amitosh. What types of monitoring and control systems are basically used to optimize the performance of solar PV systems integrated into buildings? And how do these systems enable better management and maintenance of the systems over time?
Okay. Okay, let's start with the first question here.
Yeah.
Okay. He's asking about the heat generation, right? Basically, see the heat generation which is there is basically what a PV system is doing. When you are installing a solar module, in spite of a facade structure, basically you are capturing this solar irradiation which is incident on this. Due to this, the heat generation effect won't be there as much. It will be lesser than the facade structure actually, because the facade or normal facade glasses will be transparent or translucent in nature, and it will let most of the heat to pass through it. But in case of a PV model, we are capturing this irradiation which is available, and which will in turn act as a cooling effect. But we can optimize this based on your requirement, as in cases where it's a cold region and we need a inverse effect. There are PV models available where a cooling effect also can be achieved with the same technology. So how about cleaning and maintenance? With the cleaning and maintenance is absolutely same as you have done with the facade structure. How a facade structure will be cleaned, the same technology, the same installation will be used here, except that we need to have a designated electrical team who will maintain the solar aspect of it. The cleaning will be done as per how we are doing the facade cleanings. Okay. Yeah. See, the basic when it comes to an ROI of a BIPV project, the main reason why we opt BIPV for a greenfield project is because of this ROI factor. Here we are not putting BIPV just for the generation. We are replacing facade structures here. So you are offsetting the cost which is utilized for an facade structure. There is some amount of capital investment that is required while you are doing a facade structure. You need to install the structures. You have the same labor cost which is involved. By offsetting mechanism, you'll be able to achieve a higher ROI for the project. If you're not gonna go with the facade structure installation and you're considering only the cost of BIPV installation, then your statement is true, but that's not the case. We are using an offsetting mechanism. You're going to be spending whatever the capital investment on a normal facade structure. We are increasing that cost by 20 to 25%, but we'll be generating the energy with that increased cost. So the ROI will not be really long. So when it comes to a catalog, one of the major supplier of BIPV structure is Onyx. There are European-based manufacturers. You can visit their website, and most of the catalog options which are available in a BIPV will be found there. Okay, what are the codes and standards? Okay, see, when it comes to codes and standards, I think that's a basic electrical codes and standards which you need to follow for calculating the load. But when you are looking to calculate the load based on your solar requirement, the main thing that you need to consider is your contract demand, which is available on your electricity. This comes into play because any distribution company and government itself has a norm stating that if your contract demand is 100, you cannot exceed this contract demand. In fact, some states will have restrictions based on this contract demand also. For example, if the installation is happening in Karnataka, we can install only 85% of the contract demand. Example, it's 100 kilowatt is your contract demand. The solar installation sizing will be only 85 kilowatt, even if you have lot of roof space available. Will not be able to install more than 85 kilowatt. So that's the main constraint when you're considering the load aspect. So what other softwares are available? There are many softwares which are available. One of the most commonly used Helioscope, Google SketchUp I already mentioned. These are the two major utilized tools for shadow analysis. Okay, when it comes to monitoring and control systems are okay. So the function of a monitoring system and how do you enable it to a better building management, right? So while we are using a typical example, let us take to the BIPV system here. So in a BIPV system, if you are using a model level monitoring, we are able to monitor each and every PV models which have been installed. We know the exact power generation capacity of these models. We are able to identify if there is any rectification required. And when it comes to the control system, example, you have a we need a few typical protection system needs to be installed. Example, if there is no grid from the Westcom and you are generating solar and it's an off day or it's a holiday and there is no load available in the building, you need to have protection system in place in such a scenario that no power generated from solar will be fed back into the grid. That is basically your government supply, that is your BESCOM or ESCOM distribution boards. So we have control systems in place which will prevent this. We have inbuilt mechanisms inbuilt into the inverters which will have surge protection, Icelandic protection, and all the which will abide by all the IS4s which have been prescribed for a operating system, for a BIPV as well as solar. Yeah, that's my question.
Thank you, Ninad, for taking all the
Yes.
questions. This brings us to the end of the talk. I would like to thank everyone who attended and participated in this talk, especially to Ninad for taking both the sessions. I would also like to take this opportunity to remind everyone that we will have our third RE Tech Talk on 17th of March, where we will discuss how BIPV is more than just clean energy. We hope to see you all next time. Thank you and have a great day.